Hey guys, this is Kelly of Rojo Chief Clothing, and I'm not going to make this video too long, but on here I'm going to look at DNA again. And as we know, they say that DNA only looks at 0.01% of your genomes, and it only looks at about maybe like one or two ancestors, and out of all the millions of ancestors that you have. And as we know that about 340,000 African people were brought over to the United States during the entire time of slavery. So we know that for a fact that most of the Negroes that was listed, or people that was listed as Negroes on the slave manifests, were indeed American Indians that was being shipped from the United States to the Caribbean, and from the Caribbean to the United States. So anyways, with that being said, I'm going to look at this DNA. I had did a DNA test with Ancestry, a percentage test with Ancestry a while back, back in 2014. And I took that raw file, and this is what I found. So with DNA.Land, this is basically what they found my matches to be, allegedly. So they matched me with the Pimas, the Mayans in Mexico, the Mixies in Mexico. They matched me with the Pia Poco in Colombia. And then in Bolivia, they said that I was a match in the area of the Pando, and then the La Paz region of Bolivia as well. And then as far as Gedmatch, they said I did I took my file over there too, and then they said that I was a match for South American hunters and gatherers. Okay, so I found that to be very interesting. And so, in my discoveries and what I found thus far by using Ancestry DNA to find out my alleged, percentages when it comes to my ancestry, I took those raw files and I brought them over to DNA.Land, DNA.Land, and also brought them over to Gedmatch. Now, this is the information that I have received from DNA.Land, but DNA.Land, they're no longer doing this anymore. They get rid of the program for whatever reason. I guess it was too truthful or too honest about things, I suppose, and that's the reason why they probably shut it down, because they thought that we probably was going to get hip to this information that they was going to give us and start making the connections, which I did, which is the fact that, Chief Warhorse, she's Choctaw, and I remember she said in one of her interviews that the Choctaw, that they have a ceremony that's very similar to the ceremony that's done in Mexico, which is Dia de la Muertes, which is the Day of the Dead. And she had mentioned that the Mexicans, they migrate over, or they come to visit Texas, and they light candles and to honor the ancestors. And she said that Chief Warhorse said that they do the same thing. And Chief Warhorse is in the state of Louisiana. So anyways, so then you got that, and then there's a connection that Chief Warhorse said that the Choctaws, that there are people that's in Mexico, right now that's, related to the Choctaws. And then also there is a mountain in South America, I believe, that a man that is of so-called Latino descent, and we know the Latinos are part us, they're part American Indian, and he mentioned to her that there is a mountain that I believe is called Chata Mountain, and he wanted her to see it because he said that that's associated with her people. And so that's another connection too, with the Choctaws to South America and also Mexico. And then we know that the Olmecs had left, and according to Tasha She, that the Olmec peoples became to be known as the Powhatan tribes that's in Virginia. And then you have information that's also out here that connects the Creek Indians to the Mayans. And they're basically saying that the Creek Indians are indeed the Mayans. And I have a video that I had discussed that, talking about Afro-Mexicans and how Afro-Mexicans are actually your American Indians. So, and talking about how the Mayans, how they had a clay that was blue that they used to paint with. And then a friend of mine, who's also a YouTuber, Mad Vibes, he pointed out to me that the Mayans had actually left Mexico and went to the United States way before the Spaniards had even came there, to, cause havoc and chaos in Mexico. So then, that's also a connection. So now, looking at all this information about what Chief Warhorse said, and she's Choctaw, and that a man from South America told her that the Choctaw have a connection to South America and also Mexico, and that the Olmecs left, and then they went to the United States, and that the Creeks are the Mayans, and they also went to the United States. To me, that seems like that's very valid, and that these DNA findings are probably true and probably accurate. So what I'm saying is that sometimes you can use DNA as like a key in order to make connections with your genealogy, and that you use your genealogy to find out where your ancestors, what states that they were in, and then based on where they were at geographically, and you will know, like which tribes are associated with those particular territories. And that between your genealogy and the historical evidence of where certain tribes are known to have been at and associated with territory wise, along with, DNA, that it might make your research about your family easier, because the DNA may show you some things or give you some information that you may not have never, thought about.
Intrinsically connect this to the education community with people who feel, not because my way is the right way, but because it's the truth. And we want the truth to come out as historians. So it was truly a gift when Wes introduced me to Chief, to find out that everything that I was always, I don't know, for lack of a better term, I'm just going to say this. I hear African Americans, black people especially, say, I have Indian in me. And in my mind, I would always say, no kidding. You should know that you have it in you, because my great-great-grandfather is Cherokee Indian. So I was a member of a congregation last week that's called the Association of African American Museums. I am thoroughly involved in civic engagement with my community and the community at large in general. So I really want to disseminate information, and to not only to disseminate it, but just research to find out the truth, so that the world will know that there are people indigenous to America. It's not fiction. It's not something that's make-believe. It's the truth that there are black ancient Indian tribes. Okay, so we have people who have researched it. At this conference that I attended, I connected with Dr. Thomas Durant, who is a retired professor of African American history at Louisiana State University. I've connected with various other professors who are interested in telling this story, inviting you to conferences so that we can begin to really make this an intrinsic effort among the education community.
That covered up things, that sedge that was left in your house and on your ground. Some of the sludge of this storm that I have to deal with is, am I this color as an Indian because of African descent? Or am I this color because this is the color of my ancestors? Well, the truth to that lies with the anthropologists, if they tell the truth. Because as they dig into the grounds, they have found people and they know they look like I look. But do they want to be politically correct as a white man to stay in standing with his white man? Or do he want to just let the truth lie in the basement? If you look into the older court records of Louisiana, you'll find my people there. But it be looked upon by some people as Europeans, because the white man duplicated every last name he gave to us after being forced to take a family name. He duplicated those same names. So now, then you could easily say, well, it's not the black Greens, it's the white Greens. It's not the black Dupree, it's the white Dupree. But I was always told the proof is in the pudding. So in my family, we didn't tell the white folks all our business. So when they stole our identity, mispronounced it as Choctaw, they would come back into Lacombe, see our ways of living, and then they would mimic this back in Oklahoma. We have to ask, as historians, who signed the Dancing Rabbit Treaty and some of the other treaties? Research their name and see if the people that's in Oklahoma, I'm finna get real controversy. Let's see if there's really Native Americans that your tax money is paying for today, no matter what color you are. I said, if the government want to really know who's been ripping them off, check out and see who's inside that pudding. Because what's in the pudding sure ain't chocolate. It's all vanilla. Okay?
You know, Chief, and I'm going to say this for our viewers, that we have the number up because I'm always being told that there's not enough time for a call, so you can begin calling now if you so desire. But also, Chief, I want to say this to you, and I understand that I have come from a particular time zone that, because I was raised by Garveyites and nationalists, I remember that when blacks used to claim some heritage of being Indians, the response used to be, yeah, anything but a nigger. But then as I grew, I learned that the Indians we were seeing on TV were not representative of the indigenous people of this country. And when we began to look at the indigenous people of this country, they began to look like black folk.